there. I hope you guys are doing well. My name is Marley and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing another installment in this series that I started where I give book recommendations based on a TV show or movie. You can also view it as movie and TV show recommendations based on books. It's kind of like if you like this, then you will like this. This is not an original idea. Lots of people do it, but this is my version of it. So the first one that I want to say is kind of a popular one, so I'm just gonna get it out of the way. But that is if you like the TV show The Haunting of Hill House, which is a horror show about this family and their past where they lived in this haunted house, and then we are seeing them in the present where they are all sort of like still tormented by the memories of this place, then I think you should read Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This also has to do with a haunted house and has to do with flashbacks, and it is a bit of a book within a book. So if you don't know, we're following our main character whose father recently died, and so she is left this house that she used to live in with her parents when she was younger, but they actually fled the house due to it being haunted. And so she is going back to that house to sort of like fix it up before selling it. We are also seeing chapters from this best-selling book that her father had wrote about the family's experience at this haunted house. So we are getting those chapters mixed in, and it's a bit of a question of whether this house is really haunted or not. Very, very creepy book. I read this last year and I was super scared. So especially with Halloween coming up, I would highly recommend this book or this TV show. The next recommendation is if you like the show Atypical on Netflix, then you would like the Rosie Project book by Graham Simpson. So Atypical is a show that follows our main character Sam, and he is neurodiverse. He is on the autism spectrum, and it is about him and his quest for finding a girlfriend, his relationship, as well as all of his family members, sort of their impact on Sam, as well as their own storylines. I would recommend the Rosie Project because in this book we are also following someone who is on the autism spectrum. If that is something that you like to read about or watch, I would highly recommend this book. We are following our main character who is what is the term for it? He studies genes, and he is a professor, and he is on a quest to find the perfect woman for him. And in his quest, he ends up meeting this woman named Rosie, who does not meet any of his qualifications to being his girlfriend, but yet he gets wrapped up in trying to help her figure out who her father is through like DNA things, because he studies, genes. While they are working together, they end up sort of having a romance. And yeah, it's pretty cute. So if you like Atypical, I'd recommend the Rosie Project, or vice versa. This next recommendation is like a little bit of a stretch on my part, but it is for the movie Crossroads, which follows Britney Spears, her character, who is a very innocent girl, and she kind of gets dragged into going on this road trip with a few of her friends and this mystery guy. So you're seeing them along this road trip and the different shenanigans that they get in, and of course there is a romance. So if you like this movie or just sort of any road trip movies, then I would recommend Amy and Roger's epic Detour by Morgan Matson. This is a YA contemporary, so it's a little bit more immature than Crossroads is. Again, we are dealing with this girl who is moving across the country because she had, some trauma regarding cars. She cannot drive herself, so her mom sets up for this guy who's a friend of the family to drive with her to their new location. Similarly, there are a bunch of stops along the way and different things that the two of them go through throughout the book on this road trip, and it's super fun. It's a little bit more serious as well than Crossroads, but both of them have those lighthearted moments as well as those more emotional serious moments as well. The next recommendation is if you like any cheesy rom-com teenage coming of age movie, which there are tons on Netflix, then I recommend You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. This was a release last year, and it is a YA contemporary romance novel. When I was reading it, it just screamed cheesy teen movie or cute teen movie. We're following our main character who really wants to get into this college, but she does not have the money for it. So she decides to run for, I think it's prom queen or homecoming queen, one of those two, because if you win this scholarship reward. So even though she is not the prom queen type, she's more like to herself and not really very like cool or focused on like beauty and stuff like that. She ends up running anyways to win this prize. She ends up having a bit of a thing with one of the other girls that's running as well. We deal with a lot of those typical YA themes like friendship, coming of age, romance, family relationships are in there as well, along with some themes about like progressiveness, as gay couples are actually banned at her school. So there's a whole big like inspiring sort of theme and message in the book that just like really makes you feel good, just like all of those cheesy teen movies do as well. So if you are into that sort of thing, I highly recommend You Should See Me in a Crown. This next recommendation is also a little bit on the nose, but I just had to throw it out there, and it is for if you like the show Love, Victor, which is also kind of like a coming of age teen rom-com situation about Victor, who is from a Latino family and he is gay, but he's still closeted at the beginning of the show, and it's really about him figuring out his sexuality and trying to gain confidence in it and with sharing it with his loved ones, and all of his loved ones have storylines as well. Then I obviously recommend reading Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda, which is actually what this show was based off of. So I'm sure a lot of people that watch the show have already read this, but just in case you haven't, read where it all sort of started. This follows Simon, who is also a closeted gay boy in high school, and he ends up having this sort of pen pal relationship with this other boy at the school just over emails. Someone ends up finding out about this relationship and these emails and blackmailing Simon, and so it's just about Simon, you know, dealing with that. So yeah, if you like one, check out the other. So next up is a book recommendation for if you enjoy the shows such as Dynasty or Revenge or even Gossip Girl, although I have not seen Gossip Girl. But if you don't know, Dynasty is about the super rich family and all the drama that comes with it, and then Revenge has similar themes as it is about this girl getting revenge on a very rich family with like a huge dynasty. So if you are into shows like this, I recommend the book or the book series American Royals by Katherine Mcgee. I actually have not read this series yet, but just based on the premise, I think if you like one, you would like the other. American Royals follows the ancestors of George Washington, who was the first president of the United States, but it is telling the kind of alternate reality story of if instead of being president, he had become the king, and if the US had a monarchy system similar to the UK. And so I think it is just following that American royal family, and has a bunch of like drama, rich people drama that you also know and love from Gossip Girl, Dynasty, and Revenge. Next up, there's this Netflix movie called Love, Wedding, Repeat. I believe it had Sam Claflin in it, and it was essentially about this guy who goes to this wedding and he keeps like messing something up, and then he has to keep reliving the day over and over until he does it right, which is a classic, you know, Groundhog Day story. It is also a romance, like a rom-com vibe. If you want that in book form, you should check out In a Holidays by Christina Lauren. This again has that Groundhog Day trope of this girl going to her Christmas get-together with a bunch of different families, one of which includes a guy that she has had a crush on since she was a kid. I believe she keeps dying in this one. Yeah, she keeps dying, and then every time she wakes up, she's reliving that same day over and over, and she has to figure out why that is happening. What is it that she's doing wrong or that she is supposed to fix? So both pretty fun and romantic premises. If you liked one, you would probably like the other. Next up, let's talk about The Haunting of Bly Manor. This was like a sequel show to The Haunting of Hill House. They're like kind of related, but this one takes place at a different haunted house. We're following this au pair that comes to look after these kids, and then there are some other people who work at the house as well, and it just seems like it's haunted. It's like a haunted love story. The romance ends up being a pretty big theme in this show. So if you enjoyed this show, I would recommend the book Layla by Colleen Hoover. This is also a paranormal romance about this guy and this girl who are going out, they're having a great time, and then something ends up happening that's like very traumatic. So they end up going away back to where they met at this little B&B and reconnecting while they're there. And while they're there, there's a lot of like haunting ghost related things happening, and this is one I really recommend not knowing much going into it, because I didn't, and I just found I was getting shocked throughout. There's a lot of interesting plot twists. It gets weird, but it also has those romantic elements as well. So if you like that combination of like creepy ghost paranormal stuff along with a sweet romance, then I would recommend Layla. Or if you read Layla, I would recommend The Haunting of Bly Manor. Next, I have a fantasy recommendation. If you enjoy the show The Witcher on Netflix, which is a like high fantasy series that takes place in this world where there's magic, monsters, things like that. I'm forgetting how to describe it now. Then I would recommend the series Shadow and Bone, which I don't even feel like I need to recommend at this point because it is such a popular series due to the TV show. But I just found that this is a high fantasy with a very complex world similar to The Witcher, and it also has romantic elements in it as well as The Witcher does a little bit, and it has lots of action and magic and kind of like gray area characters similar to The Witcher. So that is this recommendation. Next recommendation is for people who enjoy the show Animal Kingdom. This is about a family of criminals. They basically go on different heists to get money. They don't really have any real jobs except for the one they pretend to have for their money laundering, but they basically just plan these like epic heists to either steal money from a bank or something else, and it's a bunch of men, and then it's led by their mother is like the head of the team. And all the characters are very unique and have their own sort of things going on. It's pretty crazy. There's action and there's a lot of like deep things going on with the characters as well. So for that, I'm going to recommend another Grishaverse book, as you can imagine, and that's 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This is known to be a big heist book, so I think if you like the idea of the heist from Animal Kingdom, then you would like this book, and vice versa. Specifically, this follows Kaz Brecker and his group of crows, as he calls them. They end up going on this heist to kidnap this person, which is going to earn them a bunch of money. This is a fantasy though. It's not like as focus on fantasy elements as Shadow and Bone, but it is a little different from Animal Kingdom because it is a little more fantastical. Animal Kingdom is a little bit more focused on like the crime, action, criminal stuff, but both of them have a group of fun characters to follow that are all very complex. So I think if you like one, you would like the other. Next up, a few months ago, I was watching the Winx saga, or Fate the Winx saga on Netflix. This was about a group of fairies going to this fairy school. I think there are these monster things that are like killing people, and of course our main character kind of gets wrapped into it along with her friends, and there's romance, there's teen drama. It's great. While I was watching it though, it reminded me of the series Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. This is about a girl named Selena who is a famous assassin and ends up entering this competition to win her freedom, but it really goes off from there. Both of these have to do with fairies. The fairies in the Winx saga actually really reminded me of witches more than fairies, and there are actually witches in the Throne of Glass series as well. Both of them definitely have that chosen one kind of trope for the main characters. There's also a little bit of identity mix-ups in both the book and the TV show as well. I just feel like if you are a teen that likes fairies and magic and along with romance, then I think you would like both of these things. And then we have the last recommendation I'm going to do for this video. It is for the movie New York Minute with Mary-Kate and Ashley. This is about these two twin sisters who are very, very different but end up getting stranded in New York and having all these sort of misadventures trying to, I think the girl is trying to get to like a college interview or something, and the other girl's trying to get to a concert. It's been a while since I watched it, but they both sort of have these different goals in mind, and they both have their own crazy things happen, their own romances. It deals with their sisterly relationship as well. I think if you liked this, then you would like the book Take Me Home Tonight, again by Morgan Madsen. This is about these two friends who end up going into New York City for the night. Again, both of them sort of have different ideas of why they're going into the city. They end up getting in a fight and then getting separated, and similar to New York Minute, they both just go on a sort of wild adventure throughout the night. Again, having some romance, having some funny moments, crazy moments, until they can try and reunite at the end of the night. This book is kind of all over the place. There's a lot going on, a lot of different storylines, but it should keep you pretty entertained. I would keep in mind that this is YA. It is definitely for a younger audience in case you're not interested in that. Both of them are very fun, very hectic, very cute. So if you liked the movie New York Minute, I think you would like Take Me Home Tonight. I think it was definitely highly inspired by that film. So those are all the recommendations I have today. I hopefully plan on doing more of these videos because I find it really fun to compare TV shows and movies with books. Some of my favorite things. So I hope you will subscribe to see more of these videos and other types of videos I have on my channel. Make sure to check out my Goodreads, Instagram, and TikTok accounts below and add me on there. And thank you so much for watching, of course. See you next time. Bye.